and welcome back to Forza Motorsport. We have another Hillclimb coming up, and because a new DLC has released, a Top Gear car pack, but possibly one of the best car packs in the history of Forza Motorsport franchise. And we start off with the slowest vehicle, the 1958 Alfa Romeo Giulietta. Has a little under 100 horsepower, as you might expect from a 1950s car. It is scratched up, most of these cars are. It's just visual, don't worry about it. And the first thing you notice from this vehicle is, 1, the diff is atrocious, because it's from 1958. And 2, it does like to rock back and forth like a ship. We aren't expecting this to set blistering laps, but this is an E-Class car. So I was hoping, as usual, I always love Alfa Romeos, and yeah, I was hoping this could do one thing that very few E-Class cars can do, which is break the 2-minute barrier. Most E-Class cars struggle to break the 2-minute barrier. And well, you can go flat out and almost everywhere. It's nice. You are pushing it a little close to the wall, but you do make it flat out. And the brakes are not terrible for a 1950s car. Again, we're not going over 70 miles an hour, but not bad, not bad. You can see the body roll, just the body roll from the wobbly suspension. Yeah, that's how you know your car is old when it decides to lean at a 20-degree angle around a corner and flat out. Yeah, overall solid start for the DLC, and this is the slowest car, as you might expect, from 1958. And then things get drastically quicker as we go across the line. We take quite a big jump to the Porsche 904, the second slowest vehicle of the day. It's a B-Class car, has 190 horsepower, which is considerably more than the Alpha, but not that much more. And it all comes down to the aerodynamics and the suspension. Well, suspension's a lot better. It's basically a race car. Aerodynamics are fantastic because it's basically a race car. And yeah, it's pretty darn nice vehicle to drive. I'm also having mixed. I like the look of the car, but I don't like the look of the car. It's kind of a hit or miss thing for me. So it's not a bad looking car, but it's kind of just strange to make it think it's a Porsche. And for a 1960s car, it certainly shifts. Still has a little bit of body roll, but not nearly as much as the rolling Alpha. Again, as you might expect, this is German. Get very, very close to the walls, pushing my luck quite far, and in the braking zone. Again, brakes pretty solid on this car. Pretty solid brakes on this machine. I didn't even know this car existed until Forza. I believe this was a road legal Le Mans car from the 906, but I have no idea if that's true in any way, shape, or form, so don't quote me on it. And one more corner left to go. It handles it very nicely. You can see a little bit more body roll on that one, but still much better than the Alpha. Pretty fast in the straights too, all things considered, as we go across the line. Then we go from a classic Porsche to the most childish name in the history of automobiles. A Ferrari 812 Superfast has a massive 800 horsepower V12, rear-wheel drive, and I must say it does look fantastic and sound fantastic. Still can't get over the name. I think the name is the most stupid thing in the history of the company, and that includes the Ferrari Enzo Ferrari and the Ferrari the Ferrari. But whatever. And immediately you'll notice a lack of rear-end grip. Coming up over here especially. It does not have grippy tires on the back. It is quite wheel spinny. It's not undrivable, but it is much more wheel spinny than you would expect for an Italian supercar. And I do applaud Ferrari for still going with the V12, considering they do so much turbocharging now. However, that does mean the tires have to work really hard, and the tires are not good enough for that. Yeah. Wheel spin was a massive problem. It was very terrifying. But it does go very fast in a straight line, like stupidly fast, so the super fast name, as dumb as it is, does live up to its name in the straight lines. Around the corners, it just does not have enough grip. I mean, it's awful in the grip front. The front grip is nice, but the back end might as well be on ice. You see they're almost losing the back end, clipping the sign, then we go very fast down the straight and then across the line. Next up is the best car in the entire car pack, undoubtedly, the Exosec XP5. They got the chassis from an MX-5, the engine from a Corvette, the rear suspension from a Cadillac ATS-V, and the general styling of Ariel Atom, and made this go-kart with 525 horsepower and a power-to-weight ratio of 3.2 pounds per horsepower. That's absolutely mental. You think it would be undrivable, but it's not. It's actually a fantastic car to drive. It does have a lot of understeer, and it does have a fair bit of oversteer, but it's just enough oversteer to give you let you have some fun. Make sure you're being fully attentive, but it's not enough to make it undrivable. So it's really a fantastic machine. I absolutely love it to death. Now, right, you probably won't use it very often, but just the fact that this vehicle exists in the first place is incredible. I love it. It looks crazy, it sounds crazy, it's a freaking fast car. It goes 170 miles an hour. And it looks like a slightly enlarged go-kart. I love this car. It's absolutely fantastic. Around the corner, one last to go, then we get on the power, and we fly down the final straightaway before we head across the line. Now, this next car was a track car like the XT5, but then they turned it into a race car, the KTM Crossbow GT4. I actually got to see this car race at the Nuremberg 24 Hours. This is one of the main features, and I thought, that looks like a Batmobile. And it is. It's fantastic. It's probably one of the best handling cars I've ever driven. It has less than 400 horsepower, but it's so light, and it has so much grip, front end and rear end grip. It just darts around these corners like a little bunny. It has the looks, it has the handling, it doesn't have the speed, but it doesn't matter you have the speed because you can carry so much speed around the corners that you're still going super fast. Like, this is nearly flat out around there. In fact, it might be flat out if I remember correctly. And then this, just a little lift. It's so much speed. Now, granted, it's not Jaguar XJ5 levels of speed, but it's for an S-Class GT4 car. It's fantastic. It's better than any of the GT3 cars, in my opinion, in the handling department. It's glorious. Absolutely fantastic to drive. Now, we do come to its primary problem here. It only has 380 odd horsepower. And that's not enough for the straightaway down here. So, it goes a little slower across the line. Now, along with coinciding with this pack was a free DLC featuring 2 Porsches, and this is the first of them. The brand new Porsche 911 GT3 RS. The definition of tradition. Rear engine, naturally aspirated, flat 6. And thanks to its 4-wheel steering and a red line of 9,500 RPM, it's very fast and very fun to drive. Oh my, is it a fun car. And it's... sure, it has only 520 horsepower, but it goes around the corners so fast that it decimates other supercars. It's one of the best handling supercars in the world right now. It really is. You can't deny it. It's fantastic. And it's just glorious around these corners. The brakes are fantastic, the 4-wheel steering does its magic. It's lime green from the factory. What more do you need? I mean, we got the flat 6, naturally aspirated, lime green, 4-wheel steering, and fantastic launch. I think that checks every box for being a perfect car. Yeah, I like this car, as you might expect. On the edge around the final corner, heading up to cross the line. And now, the second fastest car of the day is a road car. And I've seen this car a few times. You've heard this car a few times in previous videos. This is the mighty McLaren 720S. I think it's the best looking McLaren ever made in the history of McLaren. And one of the best supercars out on the market today. It has 720 horsepower. It has rear-wheel drive, active aero, looks fantastic, has no silly vents in the side, so it has super smooth lines. And it has fantastic grip. And if you don't want that grip, it has a button in the dashboard that allows you to control how much drift you want. That's how numerical these guys are. I didn't know drift was a variable, but there you go. Anyway, on this hill climb, it is very, very fast. As you might expect, 720 horsepower does propel you very quickly. The brakes are even better, though. It's fantastic under brakes. The handling is brilliant. And, you know, McLaren's always been very fast. Always. With the MP4, the 650, 675. But their looks have never been able to match their technical achievements. Until the 720. I think it's a fantastic looking car. It's a very good car to drive. And, yeah, a road car is the second fastest time of the day. We have another lightweight track monster coming up. The Mexican car, the 05RR. Yeah, that's the 05RR. It looks like a Lotus, but it's a lot faster than one. It's similar to the Exo set. It has a great power weight ratio of 4 pounds per horsepower. It does have less power, 380 horsepower, as opposed to the 525 from the Exo set. But the handling is so much better. This is an R class. And the speed is blistering. It does have a little bit of rear-end traction loss, but you know, you are pushing it quite hard around these corners thanks to that massive wing and aero force. It's a very good handling car. It's not perfect in every area. It's not ultra fast in the straight line. It's not ultra good around the handling. It's just very good everywhere. Not perfect everywhere, but very good everywhere. And, you know, sometimes you gotta like a car like that. I do prefer the Exo set to this for the pure crazy factor. This looks a little too civilized. But, you know, you cannot deny that this car is very fast around this little hill climb. And this shows as we go across the line. However, the fastest car of the day goes to the other free car, the Porsche 917-20, aka the Pink Pig, for very obvious reasons. It's pink, it looks hideous, and it's the only true Boxer 12 on the planet. And what's wrong with that? It's a glorious car. I think it has such a... It's a aerodynamic testing vehicle for Porsche. Only raced once and then crashed. But it was meant to test what aerodynamics can do. And it's become a legend. In fact, the Porsche ran this at Le Mans this year, the same paint job on their 911 GT3 car. So, that's how legendary it is. It's a great car. There's only one of them on the planet, and it's in Porsche's museum. It's a brilliant car. It's very fast in the straight line because of the aerodynamics, and the Boxer 12. It's got pretty good traction and pretty good handling for a 1970s car, and although it is a little scary on the corners, it is very fast. It is very fast indeed, and that is why it is the fastest car of the day, really. It's a brilliant car. I'm so glad to see it in Forza. I never expected it, but it goes across the line. So, the Porsche 917 is a little bit slower than this 935 Group 5 counterpart. It did a 121.0, which is pretty darn impressive. But even more impressive is the VUL. I did make a mistake when I was speaking about the 720 and the VUL. I got those two mixed up. I saw the 720 before the VUL. And the VUL did a 121.8. It's only 0.8 of a second slower than a Porsche Le Mans prototype. That's pretty impressive. Then the McLaren goes into 9th place with a 1:22.8. Another very impressive time. Then, just a little bit further down, is the Porsche with a 1:23.9. Considering that's naturally aspirated and less than 530 horsepower, that's fantastic showing from that Porsche. Because it beats the KTM Crossbow GT4 car 1:26.4, which is right after the Exocet doing a 1:26.5, and then the Ferrari, one of the slowest modern day cars of the pack, the 812 Superfast, does not live up to its name around the Hillclimb stage, doing a 1:26.7. However, for all those cars being in the top 20, that's still very impressive. Then the Porsche 904 did a pretty respectable 1:34.9, although it is a little under a tenth of a second slower than a SUV, the Maserati Levante. And finally, the slowest car of the day, unsurprisingly, is the Alfa Romeo Gietta from 1958, doing a 2 minutes .32. I really wanted to beat the 2-minute barrier. It was just a fraction too far off, which is a bit of a shame, but you know, that's how this hill climb works. It is the fastest of the 2-minute cars, though, being the 328, the AT37 ice truck. And yeah, considering we have 7 of the 9 DLC cars faster than the top 20 vehicles, that is phenomenal. We had a road car go faster than the Greenwood Corvette and the BMW M6 GT LM car. I mean, the McLaren is a second faster than a Bugatti Chiron. That Chiron has 1,500 horsepower and all-wheel drive. I think that just goes to show how fast that McLaren is. So, yeah, a fantastic DLC. Probably the one I would recommend getting the most out of all the Forza DLCs. And then, of course, the Porsche's one is free, which is just glorious, because I love those Porsches. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. But that's going to be it for this episode of Forza Motorsports. I'll be back with more.